I've talked to over 3,000 business owners who run ads at scale, and what's very interesting is that most of them have horror stories about hiring ad agencies and ad experts because oftentimes it just results in losing a whole bunch of time and money, and it's not uncommon for people to have to go through multiple agencies and ad specialists before they actually end up finding someone. It's really gotten so bad to the point where now just the thought of hiring someone to run their ads gives people PTSD, like your Chihuahua friend over here, and we don't want that. So today, this video is going to give you 6 rules that we use to ensure growth with an ad specialist. Now, I've been helping companies hire the world's best media buyers and ad experts. This is over at MediaBuyer.com, and we do this to help companies grow further. And right now, we have about a 95% hiring success rate, which is, in my opinion, unheard of in the industry. So this is like an action checklist that you can literally use by the end of this video. And this is exactly what I do when I help a company to scale their ads further with an ad buyer. So without further ado, let's bang the noodle. Rule 1, make sure you're actually ready for one. Now, most people don't even take a step back to ask themselves, are they even in the right position to be running ads? Are they even in the right position to be hiring someone to run their ads? And oftentimes what I see is that many business owners will go through multiple agencies or ad specialists, and they'll keep blaming the ad agency or the provider. And then when you look a little bit deeper, you realize that their funnel is completely unoptimized, their copy sucks, or they don't have good creatives, and there are other bottlenecks outside of the ad manager, and they were basically shooting themselves in the foot before they even hired someone for their ads. So there is no better way to waste ad spend and time than hiring someone to run your ads at the wrong time. So ask yourself first, am I actually in the right position to be hiring for your ads? And we'll kind of get into that in just a moment of what is the right position. One thing to preface that is that media buyers only really scale what is already working. They're not there to just magically transform an unprofitable account into a highly profitable account. Going from 0 to 1 with your ads, I find, is the hardest part. Media buyers are just there to scale what's already working. So the best time to hire a media buyer is when you already have a good foundation and your ads are already working and profitable. The best mindset I've personally seen and experienced is when you have ads that are working and then you go to an agency or a media buyer and you say, I know these ads are already working. I want someone who can take this and scale it to the next level. But the wrong time to hire for your ads is when you don't have the fundamentals down. So those fundamentals, there's a lot of various perspectives out there, but generally the fundamentals come down to having a proven product offering, an optimized funnel, and good creatives and messaging. If you're missing one of these pieces, it's very, very hard to hire a media buyer. And I'll give you an analogy here. Imagine if you had a Formula One race car team and you had your Formula One car. You could hire the world's best race car driver. And I'm talking about like the Michael Schumacher of the world. If you give that person a broken vehicle, they will not be able to win any race. It doesn't matter their skill set. If the vehicle is missing a tire and the clutch is broken or other things, it doesn't matter. The driver can't do anything. And it's the same exact thing with your ads. So media buyers cannot fix a broken business. Instead, you want to hire a media buyer once you have strong fundamentals in place. And the last note I'll kind of leave you on with this is that your ads are only as good as your product. This is something that I got from Alex Becker. And really the message behind this is that if you genuinely have a good product offering that is in demand, that people want, your ads will perform well out of the gate. You probably don't even need a media buyer for a very, very long time. And a good analogy for this is, I believe it was Alex Hormozi who said this, the shit sandwich analogy, which basically means Imagine if you were literally selling people a shit sandwich. If you go to advertise that, you're just telling more people that you have a shit sandwich, and you could have the best ads in the world or the best ad specialist running your ads, but there probably aren't too many people that want to buy a shit sandwich. So the ads are probably not going to perform as well. So step one, make sure you're actually ready for one. Step two, don't hire on a whim. This may sound obvious, but I can't tell you how many times people will just skip this or half-ass this, and they'll hire someone with the wrong expectations, which then 2 to 3 months down the road, they realize it's not a good fit and they just dragged it out and lost a whole bunch of time and money. So you want to get extremely clear on what is on your plate versus on what's on the media buyer's plate. In other words, the exact role, responsibility, and expectations, and also your needs as well. So these are the things you want to start thinking about. First of all, get clear on your goals and KPIs. What's the main metric for you? Is it ROAS, CPL, CPA? If you're, pushing calls, for example, is it a certain cost per call? So this varies business by business. You can search online or go into various communities or even like school groups to get industry benchmarks. The other area is identifying what type of engagement do you actually need. And this is a subtle one that people will usually miss. I find a lot of folks will want to hire a media buyer full time when in reality they don't actually need a media buyer full time. They actually just need a contractor who can spend 5 to 10 hours a week on the account, not that much. In fact, I know a bunch of media buyers who they work full time at a company, but they only work 2 or 3 days a week because their direct report doesn't realize that their job doesn't actually take as much time. So then they start working with other clients on the side and stuff like that. Most people, if you're starting out with your ads, you probably don't need to hire a contractor or someone full time. You might just need a little bit of mentorship or consulting. Maybe you can implement it yourself, but maybe you just need someone who can give you some guidance or have someone who's been there, done that with what you're trying to do, and you can just get direct guidance from that person. If you already have your ads established, usually the baseline is going to be starting off with a contractor or a freelancer or someone part-time. Again, media buyers and ad specialists usually are not having to spend 10 hours a day in an account. It's more like 10 hours a week in an account for most accounts that I see. Actually, much, much less than that if it's a smaller account. The other area is creative needs. So you want to start thinking, are you expecting this media buyer to generate concepts for new ads for you? Or are you expecting them to actually create new ads for you? Or are you expecting them to be more of like a creative director in the shadows who can tell you what creatives worked really well, what hooks we might want to test more of? And that's cool if you need someone to help you out with your creatives, but just understand that it's going to make your life an order of magnitude harder to find that person that you're looking for. The other area that ties into this is copywriting. Are you expecting this media buyer to write copy, or are you going to handle that internally? Same thing with building landers or funnels or strategic needs. Are you just expecting this person to be a button pusher who executes and implements the strategy? Or are you looking for someone who can give you strategic direction and kind of has that deeper level strategic understanding of the business and what you're looking to accomplish? Niche and funnel experience. Let's say you are an e-commerce business. If you try to hire someone who has never worked in e-commerce before and they've only worked in lead generation, that might be a mismatch, right? So you might want to hire someone who is very, very familiar with your niche and your funnel type. Ad spend experience, very similar. If you are a business and you are spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads every month or $1 million a month on ads, you're probably going to want to hire someone who has experience managing those types of budgets. Next is managing a team. Is this person expected to manage a team of junior media buyers, or are they just going to be more independent? And you also want to think about, are they going to be monitoring and reporting on account metrics, or business metrics, or is this something that you're going to handle internally? So hopefully you've started to get a better understanding of how deep you should go when it comes to clarifying what you need from an ad specialist. And this is basically the foundation of a job posting. So if it helps you out, you can use a role expectations template to just help you structure this a little bit better. But then from there, you want to make sure that all of this is extremely clear on the job description. And I'm not going to go through this entire job posting from publishing.com, but this is a perfect example. It hits all the key points, and I recommend pausing this video so that you can take a read at it. That's rule 2. Do not hire on a whim or do not hire blindly. Have extreme clarity on the role and what you need. Now, number 3, do your due diligence. I can't tell you how many folks will just half-ass this one or just not do any due diligence, and they'll basically just hire the first person that sounded good on a call or something like that. So we do not want to find out months later that someone is a bad fit. We want to try to vet for anyone that's not a good fit as early as possible. So before having anyone touch your ads, you want to carefully vet them for proven experience with businesses like yours. You don't want to hire someone just because they sounded good on a call or because they have a good resume. It's very easy for people to manipulate things or to alter things on their resume. We have vetted thousands of media buyers. We've seen it before, and it's shitty, but that's why you have to do your extra due diligence. So this means verifying any claims and experience with hard evidence. Don't rely on screenshots or anything that can be faked. In other words, don't rely on surface level information. Try to go deeper. Try to go into their ad accounts. Try to talk to at least 3 to 5 references. And a note on that is don't just talk to their colleague at the agency that they worked at, because probably that colleague that worked at the same agency as them was like very biased, right? So you want to try to hear from their direct report, whether that was a former client or, employer. You want to go to the hand that was feeding them. Not to sound too crude, but you want to hear ultimately how this person performed. And to show you what we do for our process, so I'm not going to go into, all the questions here, because then we would reveal, all the questions that we're asking for our verification process. However, to give you a bit of a feel, we first put people through a preliminary assessment. And this is where we give people a scenario and ask them questions around that scenario just to get an understanding of their thinking. And then we go deeper. We put them through a technical assessment, and this is a live call where we literally go into their accounts and start probing them and asking them questions. And in other words, this is done to get a deeper technical analysis of what this person is capable of. After that, they have to prove to us their previous experience and their track record. So again, this goes back to what we've mentioned here. Don't rely on screenshots or don't rely on things that they just tell you. Have them show you their work. Have them prove to you their past experience. For example, don't just ask someone, can you do copywriting? Because a lot of people are going to say, yes, I can do that. You want to have them write some copy or have them show you copy that they've written in the past. Go that extra mile to do your due diligence. 4, assess them on a call. If you've done your due diligence, these calls are usually very easy. And honestly, I like to keep them very simple and straightforward. I try not to overcomplicate these. You really just want to check that they have a deep understanding of your business and all of the technical needs in the role. A really good lesson is if you don't learn something from the first call, don't hire them. That right there will take you a very, very long way. And with these calls, assuming that you've done your due diligence and you're vetting and you've already put them through maybe like an initial preliminary assessment, this call is more so about just making sure that there's a good vibe and culture fit and that you could work well with this person. You do not want to be really vetting people on hard skills or tech skills on this call because it's hard to gauge. Again, if you ask someone, can you do copywriting? A lot of people are going to say yes. Same thing if you ask people, can you do funnel building or can you make creatives? A lot of media buyers or ad specialists have done that before. So it's very easy for people to say, yes, I've done that. But then when they actually perform that task for you, you might realize that the quality is terrible or something like that. So that's 4, assess them on a call. Step 5, test them on a small scale. So you don't want to just find the first person that looks good and immediately throw them into the account. That is a recipe for disaster and wasting a whole bunch of time and money. So what we find to be much more effective is to first conduct a small scale test or like a discovery project. And this is to assess their strategic thinking and how they would approach your business. This isn't something that takes a week long or something. This should usually take about a half a day worth of the media buyer's time. So only about 2 to 3 hours. And I usually like to offer this as paid just for respect of the person's time. However, don't be surprised if the media buyer says, I'll just do this for free. And also, side note on that, just because someone does request for this initial project to be paid, don't take it personally. It doesn't mean they're not committed or not invested or something like that. And these can be pretty straightforward. What you want to do is give a real or a mock scenario and then ask them to create a strategy and do a diagnosis based on that information. And it's really simple. You can just give a light background of the offer, which includes the price point, the customer base that you're going after, as well as the funnel type, and also the goals and objectives. To show a good example of this one, this is one that we put together for the Flow Research Collective team, or in other words, Rian Doris from consulting.com. And I'm not going to go through every single step here word by word, but it's exactly what it sounds like. They're presenting some information. They're asking people to create a strategy. And really what you're trying to do here is identify the candidates that have that deeper level understanding of your business. This gives you a better idea of their strategic thinking and ultimately how they would approach your business. So you just want to make sure that there's alignment and that, again, what you see resonates with your goals and objectives and what you're looking for. Rule 6, set up an effective trial. This is where a lot of people go wrong in my eyes, and one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that many people will interview 5 to 8 media buyers. They'll pick the best one that sounded good on the call, and then they'll just immediately throw them into the ad account to start spending money, and that's your version of a trial. That is terrible and probably one of the worst things you can do because you've skipped all of the due diligence here. The reason why we want to test them on a small scale first, and the reason why we want to jump on calls with them and do rigorous due diligence is so that by the time you actually have them running ads for you, you know with near certainty that they're a good fit. So that's why here we say only trial someone when you're positive it's a good fit. Now, you're never going to know with 100% certainty, right? But we want to hedge our bets. And I'll put it this way. If you have an inkling of doubt that the person is not a good fit, do not put them through a trial like this. It's much better to put them through a discovery project or a technical assessment or a preliminary assessment. But you don't want to have them just jump into the account and spending a whole bunch of money, because most of the time, like when you hire someone like this, when you trial someone like this, it almost never ends up being a good long-term fit. So let's say you have someone that you do feel really, really good about. You're basically certain that they're the right person. Now you have to set up the actual trial. I don't try to overcomplicate this. If you've done all of this work beforehand, this becomes very, very straightforward. So you want to set up an initial time frame for this trial project. This could be between 14 to 30 days. It could also be 2 or 3 months. It really depends. I think a good sweet spot for trials is to start off at 30 days and then have the option to extend it another 30 days if it's a good fit on both sides. And this is really where they can show you their work instead of talking about it. So the way that you want to think about this trial is that you want to set up the guardrails and the parameters for success, and you want to be very diligent when things are not working out so that you can quickly pull the plug and it's not, there's nothing personal. You understand that, it just wasn't a good fit. So for this, you can set a modest ad spend budget, set clear KPI targets, and as well as a time frame. And then throughout this entire trial, you want to be evaluating their campaign performance, their quality of work, communication, as well as them being a good culture fit. And then to go the extra mile, what you can even do is create a checklist for yourself so you know exactly what you're evaluating and what you're looking for during this trial. And guess what? You can just go right back to the requirements that you had defined at the very, very beginning. Make sure that this person is checking all the boxes that you set out. So with that being said, the 6 rules to hiring the perfect media buyer and not get burned or waste a whole bunch of time and money is: first, evaluate whether you're even in the right position for one. 2, don't hire on a whim. In other words, get extremely clear on what's on your plate versus the media buyer's plate. 3, do your due diligence. 4, assess them on a live call. Rule 5, test them on a small scale first. And Rule 6, set up an effective trial. If you follow these rules, I can basically ensure that you're not going to mishire and you're going to end up finding a good fit the first time. Those are 6 rules to hiring the perfect ad specialist. I hope this helps you out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Talk soon.